This is out of your award in Hisley. This is Chapter 1, Promoting Mental Health and Physical Safety Through the Understanding of Intimate Partner Violence. So what is intimate partner violence? This is any physical, sexual, or psychological harm, social isolation from one partner to another. It can be a man or a woman. It could be a current partner or a former partner. And it can be in any sort of relationship, whether it be like a casual relationship, a dating relationship, marriage, even after divorce. And what happens is the partner who is violent towards the other is trying to be in control and control the victim. These are some sad statistics. It's pretty common. About 5.3 million women in the U.S. It's very, very sad. And 1 in 4 have a risk during their lifetime. So what does this relationship look like? Oftentimes it's the male who is the abuser, but keep in mind that it can be a female. A lot of times they'll have violent behavior, and you'll see it early in the relationship, and then it's just going to progressively get worse. The cost, the economic impact, women will take time, men or women will take time off, paid and unpaid, especially if it's a physical type of abuse. They're not going to want to show up to work when, they're bruised up and beaten up. The victim's characteristics, really, economic status, ethnic background, educational level, or religious status doesn't really affect it too much. It's, it can affect anybody. But oftentimes it's young women and children living in homes with intimate partner violence. So the social factors. It does occur more often in single parent households and those people who have difficulty with relationships. And certain social factors like poverty and unemployment can worsen the problem. Not saying it causes the problem. So some individual risk factors. Young age, low self-esteem, alcohol, drug use, social isolation. The relationship risk factors, marital instability. Usually when the male is the dominant figure in the household. When there's poor family functioning. Sometimes a belief in gender roles. Some men have the perception that women should be, in the kitchen, having babies, and taking care of the household. But really our society has made a flip, and women oftentimes are now career driven. A desire for power and control. The person who is the abuser always wants to be in control. They'll be angry and have hostile behaviors towards their partner. Individual risk factors for the victim, a history of abuse. On average, a woman will go back to her abuser 8 times. Just some very sad, horrific statistics. And again, tobacco, alcohol, drug use, depression. So types of abuse. There's physical abuse, sexual, mental, emotional, social. Physical abuse characteristics. Obviously, this is any injury. Oftentimes it's to the face, the neck, the chest, the breast, the abdomen. You'll see some bruising. Oftentimes the bruising that you'll see on like the, on the arms and the legs are like a defense. Like, maybe, the woman was trying to shield herself. So, indicators of intimate partner violence. Unexplainable injuries is a big thing. If you see repetitive injuries and an excuse for every single one, that would be a red flag. A partner that refuses to leave, so they want to be there all the time. They won't give you the opportunity to be alone with their partner because they don't want that partner to tell. Multiple injuries in various healing stages. So you might see, a deep purple bruise and another bruise that's yellow, kind of in that last stage of healing. The facial and neck trauma, oftentimes it involves the eye. So, the spouse will hit them in the face. You might see strangulation, so like fingerprints on the neck. Sexual abuse. This is use of force. It could be even a refusal to use a condom. So this partner has an increased exposure to STDs. They might have a forced undesired pregnancy. We see with these women that become pregnant and they have an abusive spouse, the infants a lot of times will have problems, but that's because of the emotional, the physical stress that mom endures. They're at risk for preterm birth. Mom will have increased injuries, increased infections, and increased hospitalizations. The mental and emotional abuse. This is like threats, stalking, destruction of property, pet injury. I was listening to the news a couple weeks ago, and they were talking about a couple who had broken up, and the guy killed the woman's dog and had cut off the dog's paws, sent it to her, and then told her that he ate the dog, and went on and on and on about how the dog tasted. That is a form of emotional abuse. The abuser will blame the victim over and over and say it's their fault. It's always the victim's fault. But this is just a tactic they use for control. If the couple has children together, oftentimes they will try to get the child on their side and say, oh, it's your mom or your dad's fault, and I need to do this because they're doing they're wrong, or and they try to convince others that their partner is incompetent. Oh, she doesn't know what she's talking about, or he doesn't know what he's talking about. Social abuse. This is isolation from family and friends. The victim will have to ask to leave home. This can be any denial to access to medical care, or going to school or going to work. Economic abuse, this is where they want to control the victim's finances. So it's a forced accounting of where the money was spent. They don't let them have, and budgeting is okay. I am a big advocate for budgeting, but, that could be taken to the extreme where, people aren't allowed to spend, they can't have any money to do fun things. That would be a sort of economic abuse. So phases of abuse: tension building, then there's the acute violence, and then there's the honeymoon phase. The tension building, it's just as what it sounds. This is where tension is building up, and the abuser will start with the anger, and then the situation will just escalate from there. The violence phase is where there's an actual discharge of that pent-up tension. So, for example, physical abuse, this is where they actually, may strike their partner. The violence can occur for a couple of minutes up to days. And there again, that abuser is going to tell the victim over and over, it's your fault that I'm doing this. The honeymoon phase is where the abuser comes back and goes, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to hit you. I promise I won't hit you ever again. And that, to the victim, then there's hope. They're thinking, oh, maybe this time he'll change, or, things will be different. Rarely it never is different after that. The victim's reaction to abuse. During the tension building phase, they have denial. They let this abuse go on. Then during the violence phase, they'll use their coping mechanism. They'll oftentimes apologize, and try to be obedient. And then in the honeymoon phase, they have that renewed hope. So screening, how do we figure out if our patients are at risk or is going through intimate partner violence? We need to be doing screenings with every encounter. We want to provide a safe setting and establish trust. Use your therapeutic communication. You're going to want to make sure that if you suspect abuse, that you make a referral.